Good evening and welcome to Assumption Parish School Board meeting. We will begin with roll call by the superintendent. I will do the board prayers, and Mr. Myers will lead us into the pledge. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Lewis,
Here.
Mr. Meyer, Mrs. Barra, Ms. Fletcher Mickens, Mr. Robinson,
Here.
Mr. Washington,
Here.
Mrs. Hood, Mrs. Orso,
Here.
Mrs. Dugas. Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. The agenda will be followed as presented. Ms. Hood called me earlier and told me she's sick under the weather, so she won't be able to join us today. My awesome God, on this beautiful day, we give you thanks for all the love and blessing thou hast bestowed upon us. We thank you for our family, our friends, and all the individuals within the Assumption Parish School District. Thanks for caring and keeping a watchful eye over us in our journey as we educate our loved ones while providing a safe environment conducive to learning. Dear God, please continue to bless, protect, and guide us as we try to overcome the challenges of the threats that are plaguing our environment. Our faith and hope in you keep us from going the day to day. Please, dear Lord, if we fall along the way, give us the strength to get back up again. In these names we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You doing, Andrew? Yeah. It's too loud. Okay, guys, mics on and volume up, please. Motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Robinson, second by Mr. Washington. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carried. Next, a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Uso, second by Ms. Dodd. Questions or comments? Hearing none, those in favor? All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carried. Next, under reports and recognition, receive administrative personnel report. Each of us have a copy of that in our files. Review it at your leisure. Next, receive LSU Ag Center annual update.
Good evening.
How you doing?
As most of you know, I'm Margot Castro. I'm the 4-H agent in Assumption Parish, but I'm also the parish fair for our parish. With me today, I'm very glad and honored to have Dr. Renee Castro, who is our agronomy agent in the parish. We have Miss Maria Gonzalez, who is our healthy communities agent, and we have Miss Mariah Semino, who is our horticulture agent, and we have two special guests with us. These two young ladies who are going to talk to you in a few minutes are part of not only our Assumption Parish shooting sports team, they're also were part of the Louisiana shooting sports team where they went on to compete at nationals and they are national champions. So they're going to tell you a little bit about what they do in 4-H. In front of you, you have a copy of our governing body report. I'm not going to read that to you. Please go through it. My section, of course, is on the back of our 4-H. We are in all the schools. All programs are back open. We are bringing Ag Day back again this year to all the schools in the parish. You can see the benefits of joining 4-H. We're way outnumbered not being part of 4-H. Also, you have what's called in front of you, it's a green book. I didn't bring a copy. It's a 4-H state update. That in it kind of lets you know things about our state, but also we have one of our Assumption 4-H alumni in there, Cody Hood, who graduated several years ago. He was recognized in that book, and he tells you about what 4-H did for him as a 4-H'er in the parish and now as an adult. So before we move on to our adults, I'm going to go ahead and let our two youth speak. We have with us Kaylee Burgon, who is a junior at Assumption High School, and Miss Reese Burnett, who is a senior at Assumption High School.
Hello.
Hello.
So as Ms. Margot stated, I am Reese Burnett.
from Assumption High School. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself and what 4-H Student Sports has done for me. So, as all of you know, not every kid gets to play a sport. Not everyone has the ability. And I am one of those kids. And it's true. So, thankfully, I was lucky enough to find my place and my sport in the 4-H Shooting Sports. And I've been given plenty of opportunities. I've met plenty of people, made many of great friends. I've competed in archery competitions, rifle, air rifle, and 22 rifle, muzzleloader, air pistol, and 22 pistol. I've also had the opportunity to compete at nationals twice, the first time in air rifle and the second time in 22 rifle with my good friend KG by my side both times. And I've also been given the opportunity to be a state shooting sports ambassador and also a national ambassador, which has really let me share my passion with a lot of other children and try to get more people involved in this sport and program that has done so much for me and really given me my place in this world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Burgoyne. I also go to Assumption High School. As restated, 4-H shooting sports, I'm not much of a sporty person. So between rifle, I fell in love with it. It was the best thing for me. I shoot air pistol, 22 rifle, 22 pistol. I used to shoot archery, and I also shoot air rifle. Shooting sports has allowed me to coach other kids and be a leader that I wanted to become. I'm also a shooting sports ambassador for the state, which I really enjoy. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Hi, I'm Renee Castro. As Ms. Margot said, I do agronomy work here in Assumption Parish. I work primarily with the sugarcane farmers, with the sugarcane and soybean crops. We have approximately 34,000 acres of sugarcane in the parish. It is my job to bring the research to the farmers. We host several events throughout the year, like pesticide trainings, burn certifications. We also do different programs where we're able to meet with the farmers and bring them the research that we have had through the Ag Center and other partners such as the USDA, the Farm Service Agency, the American Sugarcane League. So very happy to be back here in Assumption. And good evening, everybody. My name is Mariah Simino, and I serve as the horticulture agent here in Assumption and then also in Ascension. I mainly work with adults doing gardens and small vegetable farmers, homeowner concerns and things like that, but we are able to offer some youth horticulture programs throughout the year. We've planted trees at several of the schools. We first did this at Napoleonville Primary, and then we also have planted trees at Belrose Middle, and then last year we were at Bayou Lewis. So if you have a school suggestion for this year, I'm open to ideas. We do that in January, February time. I also coordinate the garden contest, which is for youth, which is offered in the spring. We have a pollinator workshop that we do at the Belrose Library in the summer. And then we have recently partnered with Assumption Parish Farm Bureau, and we're hosting a Ag in the Classroom teacher workshop, which will be in October. The superintendent's office, we sent a letter to, hopefully you got that. And we sent it to all the school principals. And this is a free program that teachers can attend. They're given lesson plans, supplies, all kinds of ideas on ways to incorporate agriculture into the classroom. It's open for K through 12 teachers. So you can find the information on our Facebook page. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. We hope we get a great turnout. It's going to be great information, and it's free, and it's right here at our office. So let me know if you need anything. And again, open to school suggestions for the tree planting. So
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Maria Gonzalez. I serve as our Healthy Communities agent here in Assumption Parish. And I work under 2 federal programs, so I'll touch on both of those. The first one being SNAP Ed, which is present in all of our elementary schools currently. We have a nutrition educator who couldn't be here with us tonight. Her name is Miss Wendy Nakant, and she works with all Head Start and pre-K classes to provide nutrition lessons. And so we are looking to expand outreach beyond just those grade levels, because we are capable of doing that, but we haven't really set that up with the school system yet. She also does outreach at our local libraries, Council on Aging, and the ARC. The bigger portion of my job is on the CDC's High Obesity Program, and that is the book you have in front of you that looks like this. It's kind of all-encompassing of the assets we have here in Assumption Parish, and it kind of gives you an idea of the impact that this grant has had in the parishes that qualify. So this grant is only applicable to 6 parishes in the state of Louisiana, and Assumption is one of those 6 parishes. So I write proposals and compete with these 6 parishes to get funding for Healthy Communities work in our parish. I'm currently working with Dr. B to put some flashing school zone beacons in place, and because we are restricted on what can be spent in a year's time, we have only decided on 3 locations that will get the flashing beacons for now, but we are going into our 5th year of the grant, and anything is possible. So we definitely want to look at extending that project as well as much as possible. And just to give you an idea of some of the other things we do, in the middle, I have some inserts. The very first one just kind of gives you an idea of what Healthy Communities is all about. The very second one talks about Play Streets, and what a Play Streets event is that we come in with basically play equipment to give kids an opportunity to have physical activity. And we've actually held 2 of these events at Belrose Primary, one in May, and then we went again in partnership for their back to school open house and held our second one. We're also always looking to bring this to any school, so please make sure our schools know that this is available to them. The second thing that we can do in schools is stencil projects. There's an insert about that. I recently did stenciling at Veterans Park in Pierreport, and it has gained some momentum, so I have heard from some teachers at a few different schools, so hopefully we can see that come to life too. And then the very last thing I have is Healthy Young People Empowerment. This is a program that we work with youth so that they can take part in some of these Healthy Communities projects, and they can become leaders in their community. And the only school partnership I have right now is at Labadeville Middle School with their Beta Club. So it is in the very beginning phases. I haven't met with the kids yet, but I am looking forward to it. And lastly, we have a Healthy Communities Coalition that meets every month. It's a virtual meeting. You can log in and just listen, share your thoughts and ideas with us. And if you would like to be added to that, all you have to do is shoot me an email and I can send you the invite. So our next meeting is actually tomorrow night, and I would love to have any of y'all there with us. But thanks for y'all continued support and allowing us to be in school.
So as you can see, we're very busy at our office. We have lots of things going on, and we're trying to provide the kids with so many more opportunities. Shooting sports was something that started several years ago, extremely small. It was me and 4 high school kids, and we really didn't know what we were doing or what we were getting into, and we only did archery. Now we offer all kids 4th through 12th grade, they can come take part in archery, BB, rifle, shotgun, muzzle loading, air rifle, air pistol, and of course it teaches them all the basic, the most important thing we do in shooting sports. What do y'all learn? Safety. How that guns are not always harmful. It can be a sport. These girls practice daily, just like a football team does. They have been all over doing these competitions, and not just these. We have about 56 kids involved in our shooting sports program, and we do foresee it growing a lot more. We do offer kids who may not ever have an opportunity. Leaders such as these 2 girls and other leaders in the parish have offered kids to come who, it's okay if you don't have the equipment. We're going to help you. We've had kids who have never, ever even seen, they don't even know what archery means, and now they're part of our archery team. So it just gives them another avenue to be part of 4-H and to be part of a program that is something positive. We cannot thank you enough for your support. The principals, teachers are always open. We try to let them know, look, if you're thinking about it, let us know. Maybe we can figure it out some kind of way. But as you can see, it takes a team, and we're all going towards our main goal, which is to make a better Assumption school. So if there is anything you ever think we can do for you or you would like to see done, please do not hesitate to call our office. And again, we thank y'all so much for your support.
So Ms. Margaret, how many students we have registered, enrolled in 4-H here in Assumption?
So pre-COVID, which I
That's
know
where I was
everybody's
going, yeah.
tired of hearing that, pre-COVID, we would have anywhere from 600 to 700 kids. And that's 4th through 12th grade.
12th grade.
Of course, when COVID came, you know, a year we didn't really do anything in 4-H. We did things virtual. No kid wants to do that virtual. Last year we were able to do a few more things, so things are picking up. But we're hoping with a lot of, you know, push, and we're doing a lot more things at school so the kids can realize, okay, yes, this is 4-H. Because, you know, back in the day, like when I was in 4-H, everybody thought 4-H was cooking in cows. It's not like that anymore. The livestock part, which don't get me wrong, is a wonderful program, and we have several students who still participate in that, but that's about 2% of 4-H now. It's more about the leadership. It's more about the teamwork. And of course, all these things open opportunities for kids to travel outside the parish, and also open opportunities for our high school kids scholarships. We have several kids that have won several scholarships that have helped them tremendously going on to further their education.
So, kids that interested, they have to enroll online now, is what I
They do.
understand.
They do.
And the reason why I asked, not to cut you off, sorry, is that, you know, we have a lot of areas in this parish here that is underserved. Some have no service at all, and many areas over there have connectivity issues like that. And a lot of kids in some of our rural, poor districts in this parish, you know, they have no access to computers at all.
So you can hear the smirks. So, yeah, I wanted to grab my phone and record you. So many of us sit in meetings all the time at LSU, and we're banging our heads on the wall, and we're not all East Baton Rouge Parish. We're
Right,
not.
I
And look,
understand.
Assumption, but there are other parishes who are struggling. I have tried to find a way around that. So of course, it's going out to all the kids. They have to do online enrollment. The principals, I'm so fortunate, they know the value in 4-H. So if there is a kid that comes to a meeting and they didn't online, first of all, I could care less if they online, they in 4-H.
Yeah.
But we have a way that we can kind of backdoor it, in the principals and the teachers, as long as they can give me some of their just general information, I can go in online, enroll them, and then it'll be fine. So
Okay.
it's a bump, but it's just a little speed bump. We're gonna get around it. I'm not worried about that. But thank you so much for recognizing that, and I may be calling you one day to say, hey, can you come say that at a meeting? Because sometimes they just don't get it. And look, I get it. We have to move on. COVID taught a lot of people about, but it's not like that everywhere. So
Yes, ma'am. Understand.
it is a bump, but it will not stop any kid from being part of 4-H.
Okay, good. Thank you
Okay?
much.
No,
Thanks for
thank
that
y'all
question.
so much.
All right. Yeah.
Being a former 4-H president, I can tell you 4-H was really, really good to me in elementary school and everything like that. So whatever I can help or we can help you guys do, call us and let us know so we can get the word out.
Absolutely, we appreciate it.
So, Ms. Margot, yeah, Ms. Margot, can I have a question? Do you go recruit in the schools? And maybe you could do that at the schools and, put them in, do it online for the kids?
Yes, yes. So what happens is the month of September, I went into every school in our parish, and it's kind of like, you know, the principal, anybody interested in 4-H, well, they all come.
Right.
So it's like just a little short, brief meeting, just kind of little snippets about what we can do. Of course, one of our big pushes for 4th through 6th grade is they can come to 4-H camp. So all the kids love that.
Right.
So we do that. We do online, and like I said, I'm very fortunate. Our principals are working with me, and if they can identify some kids that might need 4-H, because they don't really go because they
Right.
I'm not doing that. And then they can find a different niche, because I mean, in 4-H encompasses photography. I mean, you name
Right.
it, we can find a way for a kid to be involved. So, but yes, ma'am, we do.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. Oh, Oh, Yes.
Just a little bit.
Okay, I watch them in my backyard, so I know how dedicated they are. And thank you, Miss Margot, for always being there for them.
Thank you. Thank y'all so much.
Okay. They got a meeting at 6:30. They have another meeting at 6:30. Bye,
Thank you
sister.
so much. Thanks so much.
Yep, congratulations, bro.
Doris, can we get a picture with you with Casey?
To all of our parents, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
That are watching at home and all of our students, get involved.
Yes, please.
4-H is a great opportunity for our children to explore and to gain experiences. So just encourage everyone to get involved who would love to get involved. I know we have a former president here, but I'm also a former member as well, and I'm pretty sure we all had, throughout our career, something to do with 4-H or reap the benefits of the different programs that they have. So anything that we can do from my office, definitely our doors are open. Anything that we need to do as far as recruiting, planning, it doesn't matter. Let's have a conversation to see what we can do for our kids and our communities. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We could give Ms. Dowd a few minutes to take some pictures. Yeah, that's good.
This meeting tomorrow morning at 4:30 to go to Tennessee
Oh, Lord.
for school.
Thank you.
All right, girls.
Next, recognize Assumption Parish School District for achieving third place nationally for the Assumption for All Strategic Plan brochure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very quick. If you notice some of our communications that went out to our parents, our strategic plan video that went out to our parents, as well as all of our handouts, well, we hired a publicist, right? Someone to kind of make sure we put everything together, something that we could send out to our parents, while our publicist, Taylor Media, actually submitted our information in at the national level, and we actually received 2 awards. So, and it's from the NFPW, and it's to the district. It's a 2022 Communications Award finalist, and then we have another award, Communications Award, 3rd place. So one is for our handouts and one is for our video. So I just want to congratulate the school district and everyone that had a part in that, because we had a lot of people being captured and interviewed and statements taken, as well as submitting content. So I want to thank the Assumption Parish School District and let everyone know your hard work is being noticed nationally. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll take one out, because I have a stand and stuff like that, if you don't mind.
Next, recognize Assumption Parish School District for being national finalist for Assumption for all video. I think that's what Mr. B just touched on. So again, thank you, Dr. B, and kudos go out to you and your staff. And you did a remarkable job on this, and to receive this kind of notoriety nationally, it again kind of highlights the small little rural community we have here in Assumption. And that's attributed to all hard work of everybody. Thank you very much, and to all your staff. Thank you again. Next, under policy and procedure, approve revision to policy IDDA Head Start program. Need a motion? Motion by Ms. Uso, second by Ms. Dodd. Questions or comments? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carried. Next, paragraph B, receive policy alert July 2022 policy revision and new policy.
Or it's just kind of echoing. Good evening, everyone.
Okay.
As normal in this time of the year, we kind of hot and heavy in policies after the legislature goes through and makes some changes inside of school systems with some of the acts that go through. So we did receive from Fourth Third Consultant, which is a consultant firm that actually reviews these acts and in turns rewrites them for the parishes, in turns then gives them to us so we can relay the information to y'all, because they edit what comes across from the legislature. We are a little bit delayed, and we delayed on purpose because set came out in July, which I'll go over first, and then we had another set come out in August. But I wasn't well versed in it because we didn't have the law conference yet with Hammonds and Steels. So about a week and a half ago, we had Hammonds and Steels. They reviewed all the policies. Forethought was in the audience that all this information come across. So I'm going to do a real quick brief overview of all the policies, and I apologize, but this is kind of what we set for. Some of these have some major impact involved in the district that y'all need to be extremely aware of. I'm not going to go over the blue highlights. Just remember that the highlighted part that's blue is new. Anything that you see in red during the week is struck out, and anything that is in green, which I didn't see anything in green really, and any of them are moved inside the district, inside of the policy itself. With that being said and done with, the first set that came out in July, and I'll go over this little policy alert because I kind of highlighted mine and what's the important things, and I'll kind of, I'm not going to read it to you, but I'll go over what's kind of what each one really covers. The first policy that came out had to do with school board ethics. That's policy BH. I think it's important that y'all know when y'all last revised it. That was in 2021. This act added the requirement that immediate family members of school board members, along with the superintendent, is promoted to administrative position. But remember, at one point you could not. If they were related to you or related to superintendent, you couldn't do that. But now any family member must be employed by the school board for at least 1 year. So what can happen is if any of y'all or the superintendent has an employee that comes in, a teacher works for a year and meets the credentials, they can qualify just like everyone else for that position as an administrator. So that came through policy on policy BH. That's the change. School bus scheduling and routing, that's policy EDD. That last thing was in September of 2015. This act actually removed certain restrictions requiring the loading and unloading of students on the shoulder of the road when near to homes. So they gave a little bit more flexibility with that. On the next one, there's multiple policies that relate to this next act. It has to do with equal employment opportunity policy, the equal education opportunities policy, employee dress code policy, and the student dress code policy. So you're going to see 4 different policies with the same language change in it. This prohibits discrimination based upon natural, protective, or cultural hairstyles. And they actually defined it of what a natural or cultural hairstyle is defined, including, but not limited to afros, dreadlocks, locks, braids, cornrow braids, knots, curls, hairstyles, to protect hair culture and for culture significance. There was a big push in this legislature, as you know, as you read through it, about discrimination and making sure that you stay on top of it, that everybody's treated fairly amongst them. But those 4 policies, that's actually embedded of those 4 policies, okay? The last time that policy has been was, again, in 2020. The next policy deals with bullying and hazing. That's policy GCDAF. The last time we did that was in 2018 was the last time. All right, this act requires each elementary and high school to institute a program prohibiting and preventing bullying. We do have that in our district, by the way, but it does define bullying for employees and volunteers, procedures for investigating and failure to act. One of the big things is they actually did put in language for failure to act and how do you go about doing that. Okay, so that's the change inside that one. The next one involves 2 different policies, which is the discipline policy and expulsion policy. Very minor wording. So in other words, like it may be must and they changed it to shall. In other words, so as you check in those 2 policies, that they just changed, all they changed is 1 word, took out 1 word, put in another word. You can check that for yourself. There's really no big change in the policy besides that. The next one has to do with change in was policy with expected and parenting students, student absences and excuses. This one had to do with actually pregnancies at high schools or children in the thing. This policy was changed in December of 2001. This provides added support to students. Absence are required to be excused if related to pregnancy or parenting, and that are at least 10 days of excused absence are provided for both the parent after birth of the child. So it does also require high schools to provide academic accommodations for breastfeeding mothers. It also allows availability of childcare within schools if available. Now, I can tell you right now, we're kind of limited, but Mr. B has talked about possibly talking about how we're going to get in this. Usually when they put if available, the following year, guess what they tell you? That you got to do it. So we can see it coming down the road. This is kind of a precursor that we're going to have to put something in our high schools that helps with childcare for students that have pregnancies and young children on campus. Okay? Student health services is policy JGC, which is the last thing was in May of 2021. He kind of made a joke about this because usually some of these policies are really person-specific in the legislature because it comes across, not saying that's not important, but something must have happened to something. But this is an act that includes provisions for seizure treatments and training. Now, we do have medical training for our personnel. It says parents or legal guardians of students with seizures disorders may submit a seizure management and treatment plan to school administration for use by employees who have a regular interaction with the students. So they just want to make sure that you're aware of it, how you handle it, and what you do with it. Again, that's the change in that policy. Administration of medication, this is policy JGCD. This was last of October of 2017. This now requires a policy of maintaining a supply of we knew this one was coming, auto-injectable EpiPens and securing them on site. This has to be done in each class site for a kid that's high risk for to go in shock reaction and incapable of self-administration, administering the actual dose. So we're gonna put something in place. We'll send this back over to the nursing side with child welfare and attendants, make sure they have something set up in place, but that is coming down and that's the change. I'm assuming this one's because of election year, but they did put a policy in effect for student registration, voter registration on school sites, which is perfectly fine. Everybody should have the right to vote, as we know, but we are required now and this is a new policy, by the way, so complete what you see is brand new. We're required to allow the opportunity for each high school senior who is at least 17 years old to register by vote by using our computer system, which is perfectly fine. And to fill out electronic voter registration or using the state mail voter registration application form. So basically, we're giving them the opportunity to vote. So that is the actual July policies.
Okay, thank you, Seth. Next, a receive policy alert, August 2022 policy revision and new policy.
All right, another set of policies that came across, it wasn't as big and bulky as that, but this one actually deals with, the first one is employment of retired personnel. When you look at it, they have really struck out everything. They've rewritten a bunch of that stuff. But the main point is they revised the statute that allows the continue of hiring without benefit suspensions and without certifying that the existence of critical shortage. So what they're allowing you to do is come back and work. So you got to go back and look through it. As we put that information out, we're going to make sure we have that on our website so we kind of explain that as people come back. Because again, we never want to affect people's retirement, but they are trying to open up the door for hopefully more retirees to come back to work without being penalized. So again, the last time we did that was in March of 2021. And if you realize that's right around the corner. So every year they make an adjustment, and I expect another adjustment to come up in the next couple of years. This one is dismissal of employees. This is policy GBN. The last one we did this was 20 of 20. This addresses the dismissal of bus operators. It replaces a written note. It was inside of it. The wording's replaced. It says written notice of charges with receipt of superintendent's disciplinary action, if any. So in other words, if something happens, you have to send a receipt. Just so you know, our stipulation is every time something does happen and charges are brought up someone and a termination does happen or something, we do send a receipt home for them to sign that they received it along with an email, just so you're aware of that. Sick leave policy GBRIB, last was December 2021. This allows, and we're going to have to work on this one, but this one allows usable sick leave. And what this means is in addition to personal illness, emergency, the statute now allows the use of leave for special circumstances. The problem is they hadn't defined special circumstances, okay? But again, you're still allotted just 10 days. So whether it's special circumstances or not special circumstances, you still only have 10 days, okay? But that is the difference in there's some language for special circumstances written in there besides personal and sick. There's a change again in the military policy, which is October 20. This one's kind of interesting. It says, and which actually is kind of benefits, and I think it's a good policy. This one deals with teachers who was employed, was interrupted by military service. So let's just say I get called out, I'm out for 2 years, and when I do return back to my employment, I'm to be put on the step that I should have been on instead of losing it. So normally when people do leave our system and come back, if you leave on step 5, when you return our system, if you haven't worked in education, your policy currently reads that you're replaced back on that step because of the way we do it. But now it puts it on where you would be if you would have stayed, so you're not penalized for serving the country. That's been that last adjustment was since 2000. So this policy hasn't been changed for almost 22 years now. Policy IDDFA, Special Education Advisory Committee. We have this policy, and we did make a change in 2019. One of the major changes is they changed the makeup of the council. So now it's by percentages and who can be on it. The act now mandates that the council should be comprised of at least 8 members. So I'm assuming that they had a problem with how many members were on the council. The annual written report of the council already has to be posted on the school website and also reported to LD. So it's they just making sure that you're doing it and having to go get it sent forward. This one, which is cameras in special education classrooms, this is policy IDD FC. This is a new policy. It's one that when it first came out, it came out if applicable. In other words, if you had the money to finance it. Now it's a mandate. So this policy now has been revised, the statute making it mandatory for each school board to adopt a policy related to the installation of operation of cameras that records both video and audio in the classroom no later than December 31st of 2022. And that's what this policy is. We still will have to put it in the place of how, which is where we're going to work with Ms. Cage inside of special education. How do you apply to get that done? And what's the procedures for that? But again, we still have a little time for that, but we need the policy to put in place in order to get that up and done. And again, that's a brand new policy. Public school choice, I really don't think this affects us at all. This change, even though they did write it in there. Just so you do know, every March, we already wrote this policy in. This was changed in December of 2021. We're going to have to send out notices to any school that's a D or an F, which means that you're a failing school, that you want a choice of where you want to go based on ability or how much, excuse the language, let me get the language, capacity. But what they added, so it opens up in March, it closes at the end of March, so he can actually, the superintendent can plan for next school year. So if you want to move, you have a time frame that you must actually apply to move, and then we must move you. Because if you come in August and you want 20 people to move, well, I can't move 20 people because I may not have the capacity. Plus, the teacher's already established in a different school doing other things. So it does have a set date. That's from the old policy. But the new policy allows students to enroll in programs of choice in his or her system without regards to attendance zone under certain rules and conditions. Now listen, when they were explaining this, I don't think it affects us. We don't have more than one high school. We only have one program of choice. But if you're in an area that had 2 choices and they had welding in this one, and we had CNA or nursing in this one, and I was a nurse, and I wanted to go there, I could go there without penalty, if that kind of makes sense to you, as long as the capacity fits. So that's what they mean by program of choice, is that certain high schools have certain programs they're strong in, and there's certain programs they're weak in, and you're allowed to move if that. But again, we have one high school, so this really doesn't affect us.
So it doesn't affect the middle schools and primary schools? Would you say it about the D and F schools?
Yes, that's going to be offered to anyone that is a D and F. You're mandated to do it by the state. So right now we have 3 schools that fit in that category. If once the school's scores come out, any school that falls in that category, we're going to have to make a decision of where, because the only thing you can transfer is A, B's, and C's. Okay. Those things, you have to be inside of our attendance zone. At that point, we'll decide the capacity of how many we can take from each site. We'll figure out how you apply for that. That will actually go through Mr. Buggage's department, which is child welfare and attendance. And then from there, we'll make those calls.
Yeah, I was just
What about transportation?
Well, That's the question that I don't know the answer to, that I'm gonna have to find out, but we'll make sure we'll give you an answer. But I'm assuming if they're gonna do choice, I think in the past, we have provided transportation. We didn't have to, but I think we did. So I'll find out for you whether it's gonna be mandatory or non-mandatory with transportation. Now, if you choose to go, you can either bring your kid, or they can stay, or if we have to bus. I don't know the answer to that, so I don't want to give that information.
Yeah, I'll have to review the policy, but in the past, if it was a D school, then they could, of course, go to school choice, where one they please, but at that time, it had to be an A or B, but we didn't have to provide transportation.
No, we
If it
didn't.
was an F school, then we had to provide transportation.
Correct.
So
There's
I'll
been
have to
so-
take a look at it.
No, correct. So there's been so many changes. Before we reach March, I'm gonna have Mr. Buggage, who is also the transportation, to reach out to the other school districts
Right.
and see what they're doing, because we're not the only district that has that. What are they doing and why they're doing it, and we're gonna come back before then and make sure we give that information to y'all. Because I think that needs to be known before anybody makes a decision anyway.
Right,
Okay, but again, I just want to make sure you're aware of that.
okay, thank you.
We only have two left, which is child abuse, which is, this one was done in April of 2021. This one is that age and grade appropriate classroom instruction be provided to students related to assault awareness and prevention, okay? And new language that requiring that the instruction include how students may report an abuse assault to the Department of Child and Family Services hotline. This is another one that we'll have to post on the district website, but again, this is something that's gonna have to be taught inside of instruction somewheres in there. But again, that's a mandate that has come across from one of the acts or statutes. The last one has to do with the patriotic organization. This is policy LEH, it's brand new. This one allows organization to use public school facilities for student participation in activities at times other than instructional time during the school day. So they give you some examples. Listed include Girls Club, Boys, Big Brother, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Big Sister, those kind of clubs to come in when they're not instruction, to meet with them to try to get them into their program. So it does allow that. Organizations, when they do that, shall provide verbal and written notice to the principal of intent to speak and a proof of liability to do it. Along with the principal shall give verbal and written approval on a specific date and time that they can come in. Okay, so they're just not coming in just to show up. So it has to be a planned activity, but we got to give them access to the schools to come in during the instructional day. But again, it will be planned, and we'll make sure they have the liability. And again, that's a brand new policy. Again, if you have any questions, as normal, I'm always free. If you have anything, we can always reach out to our legal, which we do reach out to Hammers and Seals. If y'all have any questions that I cannot answer, I'll be glad to find those out for you.
Shannon, on that child abuse deal, you're still using, like, from this parish to Thibodeau somewhere, how is that operating now?
What you mean?
And the child, when you have to report child abuse, they still handle it through the Thibodeau?
There's not a fence coordinator like they used to be, like and I'm gonna call it the old days.
Oh, yeah.
We used to have a district, we're not just a regional, kind of a shared fence coordinator.
Right.
That position was shared financially, from my understanding, with the district and the office and a couple of different offices. But that position kind of went away. So that's, I think, is a benefit of putting this in, but we'll make sure that any child abuse, there's a hotline on our website, there's a call number on our website. It'll be taught in there how you go about using it to children and adults and whatever else, because it is something that is affecting children today.
We do still use Thibodeau. They still go through
Still
Thibodeau.
there?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Well, it looks like we got our homework cut out for us the next 2 weeks, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and those July policy alerts, I noticed, I briefly went over most of them today. A lot of them are student-related, so I suggest you maybe pay a close attention to those over the next 2 weeks. If you have any questions before we approve them next week, just bring your questions with you. Next, I received information on Form 48.5, Special Education Behavior Interventionist Job Description.
I'm going to invite Ms. Margaret up here to explain to you what it is.
Since she's the
I'm making it get out the
interventionist,
back, y'all. But I want to explain to you why you're getting this. This is we already have a position for this. We need to tweak it. We had a social worker position that was not filled, but that is not what we need. We need a different type of position.
Okay.
So when Ms. Margaret came to us, she was requesting, she goes, I need this with this skill set, with this degree. Well, the problem is you do not have a job description for that, to hire that person. So in order for us to change the position, it's not changing your number, it's not changing your salaries, it's not changing anything, but in order for us to advertise the position for which she needs, we had to go out and create a job description for the position. So this is not an added position, just want to make sure you're aware of that. This is not a salary change, it's the exact same salary if we were to hire a social worker, it's the exact same number of things that you applied in the budget, but we have to have a different job description. But I want her to explain what it is because, again, special ed, out of my wheelhouse.
All right.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hey,
I too was a 4-H president.
yeah.
Won many
I
awards.
was one too.
I think Anya was as well, but we were just comparing
all
notes in the
right.
back when you said that.
I used to run.
So what you have before you is a special education behavior interventionist, and this would be a district position that we would utilize for our special ed students that are displaying behaviors that we need someone to come in and actually work not only with the students, but with our teachers and our parents to be able to give them support in those areas, especially with our autism students and those students that display those behaviors because of being at home for COVID. We're having a lot of babies that's coming in right now in pre-K, kindergarten, and even in Head Start that have that separation anxiety and different things going on because they were at home for 2 extra years. This person, the qualifications, which I did a couple of studies in other districts as well, we are looking for someone who holds a master's degree with a board certified behavior analyst certification. So that's the first thing that we're looking for. And I'm sure you've heard of ABA techniques. That's an applied behavior analysis techniques that really works with our students with behavior disorders. I would also like to utilize this person to do professional development and training for all teachers at the district level, especially when we have PD days. We have embedded PD days, and we hold a lot of trainings with special ed, so I would love to use this person in that capacity as well. This, like Shannon said, is not an extra position. In the event we do not, or we're not able to secure a person with the BCBA, which is Board Certified Behavior Analysis, we do have in the job description that we will accept a LCSW social worker, a school counselor, a mental health professional counselor, or a school psychologist that would be willing to obtain that certification add-on. Any questions?
We would assist them in getting that certification?
We do have some money. However, it's for mile mater certification if they're going back to be certified in that. But we will definitely put them on the right track to be able to obtain that certification.
Good. Thank you, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
It's a, yeah, teacher scale.
Next under budget, approved contract between Teaching Strategies LLC and Assumption Parish School Board. Need a motion?
So move.
Motion by Mr. Robinson. Second by Mr. Myers. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carried. Next, receive August 2022 sale and use tax report. Yeah.
The delinquent rate for the month was 7%. We did not have audit revenues for the month, and our auto sales was $221,986.42.
Thank you, Ian. Appreciate it. Facilities and grounds, receive information on Tillman Communication Request 2. Lease property behind Labradorville Primary School to build a freestanding communication tower.
Thank you, Mr. President. I received an email from Mr. Dwayne from Tillman Communications, and they're asking if we could either sell or lease some property to them. The property is located, I think Ms. Melissa put in your folder, a copy of where the property, kind of like in that red area. It's a 75 by 75 piece of property behind Labradorville Primary School. I said that I would bring it to the board. I'm not making a recommendation at this time. This is for information. I asked Mr. Eric Adams, who sent us the email, to come speak to you about this, because I think it's very important that we hear from the people that are asking to lease or purchase our property. So
Exactly, yes.
he informed us that he could not make it tonight, but he would definitely be here at our next board meeting. Again, this is not a recommendation from the superintendent's office. This is for informational purposes. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Right, so this is basically a cell phone tower. So they would pay the board, they pay the school district $900 a month, or it's a one-time payment of $100,000. So he contacted me, I spoke to Mr. B about it, just wanted to bring it to the board. The way the tower is set up is that it's a 250-foot tall tower. Okay, so the tower is built to collapse within, if anything were to happen to the tower, it's designed to fall within the 75 by 75 square fenced-in security area. So if we did give up the property, I mean, they would need access to it quite naturally. But we would have to set up something, if we ever did it, we would have a contract with them, they can only come certain times, whatever, because the children on campus. It's just something I wanted to bring to y'all attention because he approached me. So I spoke to Mr. B, just to keep y'all in the loop, that is out there. If y'all interested in it, then we can reach out to him and have further communication.
Okay.
So it's either $900 a month for 50 years, or it's $100,000 one time.
Okay.
And I haven't done any studies to bring back any information as it relates to what is the actual value of something like this being placed on our property.
Yeah.
So I do not have any information as it relates to that. So I don't know if that number is accurate or not, in other words.
Okay. Yes.
The insurance would be a part of, a big part of
Just
it.
wanted to bring it to y'all, so y'all were interested in
Yeah.
going any further with it, before I have any further communication with
Right.
you. If it's something we're interested, I can get more information, and like Mr. B said, Eric said he could come to the next board meeting, and give y'all a little more.
Okay. Thank you.
And I will look into that, Ms. Elective, as far as insurance as well. What costs we're going to incur as a result of it, or who will pay for that service?
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly,
I will.
right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, authorize the superintendent to move forward with the project engineers bid recommendation for Assumption Parish School Board roof replacements. Task order, the planners, design group need a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Dot. Second by Mr. Myers.
Thank y'all. I guess we received bids last week. We received 4 bids. The low bidder was $330,000, which is within the budget of $350,000. I got back to the office and started reviewing the bids. That particular bidder had left out some documentation in his bid. I forwarded it to Michael to get an opinion on what he thought we should do. He agreed with me. We had to disqualify the bidder. So I recommend that we go to the second bidder, Seabreeding Construction, for $375,700.
Okay. So you are asking the board to approve the second bidder that you, yes, sir. Any other questions?
Base bid only, not the.
Right, yes, I understand. Any other questions, comments? Those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries, the second bid closed. Thank you much. Next, authorize the superintendent to move forward with the project engineer's recommendation for the Belrose Middle School task order bathroom project, CJ Sidewalk, rejection of bid. Need a motion? Motion by Ms. Uso, second by Ms. Dot. Joseph?
Yes,
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Are you gonna put it out to bid again, or are we gonna?
Give you a quick update. I've actually reached out to the contractor as well as several others to try to get a breakdown and see what is driving the cost to such an extreme. And then at that point, we will have to make a change in scope to reduce what we're trying to do to get it within budget.
Okay. Thank you, Joseph. Those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries. Thank you, Joseph. Next, to receive information on playground upgrades for Bar Lewis Primary, Labradorville Primary, and Napoleonville Primary.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, looking at our construction projects, and I guess it's safe to say, the lack of movement on some of our construction projects, I moved the Bayou Lewis, Labradorville Primary, Napoleonville Primary projects out from the original task order, which the company agreed they did no work at the time. So I was willing to say, okay, I'm willing to pay you for whatever construction designs or designs you did, and they did not do any. So we came into the agreement that we would remove those, and we would take these projects on in-house. Also, the driving factor in that is we can actually get more for our money because we actually found a contractor on state contract. So we don't have to go out for, to get engineering services and things like that, that we will drive up the cost. We actually could do this in-house. So right now, this is what we have as far as I'm proposing. If I can get it to go down. So Bayou Lewis, you can see this is kind of like a picture of playground area, which this company is going to have a new play structure. We're looking at a concrete sub-base. We're going to pour the rubber slab. Everything will be done according to code. So this company is on state contract. This company is a sister company of Playtime, Game Time. So they're going to make sure that everything that in our playground areas is up to code. The fencing, the rubber, the cushion, the padding, the cement, the concrete, anything that goes into this project. That's what this company does. They do projects around for all government entities, as well as school systems. The budget we have for this project is up to $50,000. This company knows that, so they're telling us that they can create a playground, install a playground, and all the sub footing and everything that we need up to $50,000. That's in Bayou Lewis. Labradorville Primary, they're going to repair the existing structure, and we're also going to add, we have a couple options here that we're looking at, but we're also going to add additional space for our kids to have for outside play area. We want to make sure that we give them more opportunity to spread out, because that's what the money is designed for, but we also want to give them the things that they need to enjoy their playground area as well. And the last, Napoleonville Primary. This principal actually asked for almost like a sitting area, like an outside pavilion area, where the kids can actually eat outside, or teachers can actually bring classrooms outside. So in this area, we're going to actually create a outside slab. We're going to propose, depending on how much it costs, but we would like to have an awning on top, as well as benches and seats on this particular slab. So those are the three projects that we're taking on in-house. Ms. Rachel, if she want to provide more information, she went and walked the grounds with the potential contractor. We have to go back and make sure Mr. Dwayne looked at the plans, but I'm hoping everything could be done, where I could bring this back to the board for approval. Right now it's for information, for approval in 2 weeks. So that's kind of like where I'm at as far as the project, these three projects. They are still GFP, the architect that I'm referring to. They are still creating our outside space at Napoleonville Middle School. So Napoleonville Middle School, I don't know if you've been over there, you know where we tore down that old building, it's kind of like where our kids are just playing outside.
yeah.
But we want to make sure we try to make that area nice for our children. So we're going to try to level that slab off, we're going to bring in a canopy, talk to Miss Kathy today, and make sure that we put some seating and things like that outside for our kids as well.
Okay, good. Any comments or announcement from any board member or administrators? Hearing
Yeah,
none?
yeah, what happened to that project with they were gonna put a walkway around the building and along the bayou side for free and
I remember,
what happened?
yeah.
That was a nice project, but what else?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not one of our projects. I haven't heard since the young man spoke to us and asked for approval. I haven't heard anything about that project, that walkway area. It looked very, very promising, but
Yes.
I haven't heard anything since.
Yeah, it's on the side of the bayou. It's on the
Yeah.
other side of the
That
bayou.
would've been nice.
Yep, all the way up and I think until the park right here that we have, or the rest area that we have here, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was a pretty nice project, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. I haven't heard anything since. Oh, okay.
And again, just to assure, they ran into some issues, obviously, with the construction costs. They came back to the police jury to see what they could do in-house. Mr. Paul's group, the parish manager, said that they could do certain things, getting a lumber price, putting it back out to see. We're now waiting on, Mr. Perk to get back with us, but I would say probably within the next 2 weeks to a month, we'll know exactly when they can start construction and the overall time frame. So it's moving, but like everything else.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
All right. Thank you, Counselor, appreciate it. If there's no other comments or announcement, motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion by Ms. Dodds, second by Ms. Uso.